Alaska has more than 100,000 glaciers, covering approximately 30,000 square miles of land. The glacier is a perennial accumulation of ice, snow, water, rocks and sediment that moves under the influence of gravity. Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve was designated a national monument in 1925. Its purpose was to preserve the glacial environment and plant communities for public enjoyment, scientific study and historic interest. Expanded several times, in 1992 it was listed as a World Heritage Site, the principal national recognition given to natural and cultural areas of universal significance. The shorelines along Glacier Bay were completely covered by ice just 200 years ago. Explorer Captain George Vancouver discovered straits choked with ice in 1794 when Glacier Bay was barely a dent in a massive glacier. More than 4,000 feet thick and up to 20 miles or more wide, it extended more than 100 miles to the St. Elias range of mountains. By 1879, the massive glacier had retreated 50 miles, opening up a brand new waterway. Few people other than the native Tlingit people had glimpsed this new world. Scottish conservationist John Muir discovered Glacier Bay after travelling from Seattle to Wrangell and hired native paddlers to take him north. Muir's exciting articles brought the first visitors in 1883, and since then thousands of people have flocked to Glacier Bay. By 1916, the Grand Pacific Glacier retreated 65 miles from Glacier Bay's mouth. Such rapid retreat is known nowhere else on Earth. Scientists have studied the phenomenon, hoping to learn how glacier activity relates to global climate changes. The bay is 65 miles long and filled with fjords and inlets. It's noted for its grand glaciers, jagged icebergs, tremendous mountain scenery and its plant and wildlife communities. At John Hopkins Inlet, several peaks rise to 6,520 feet within just 4 miles of shore. As water undermines some ice fronts, great blocks of ice up to 200 feet high break loose and crash into the water. John Hopkins Glacier carves such volumes of ice that it's seldom possible to approach the ice cliffs closer than about 2 miles. Fairweather mountain range supplies ice to all glaciers on the peninsula separating Glacier Bay from the Gulf of Alaska. Mount Fairweather is the range's highest mountain at 15,320 feet. Glaciers form when snowfall in the high mountains exceeds snowmelt. The snowflakes first change to granular snow and round ice grains, but the accumulated weight soon presses it into solid ice. Eventually, gravity sends the ice mass flowing down slope at up to 7 feet per day. A glacier is made up of 3 components: ice, a fjord in which it lies, and the remnants it deposits through melts and carving. The density of glacial ice causes it to absorb all light, leaving only blue, giving glaciers their blue-white appearance. The park of Glacier Bay includes some 12 tidewater glaciers that carve into the bay. The show can be spectacular. Juneau is the second largest city in the United States, a status that pertains not to its population, but to its geographic area. Alaska is so big and so sparsely populated, it's divided into boroughs. The borough of Juneau covers more than 3,000 square miles, which is around 3 times the size of Rhode Island. In the middle of the southeast Alaskan wilderness, the city of Juneau commands one of America's most pristine regions. Juneau is closed in by Mount Juneau, Mount Roberts and the Mendenhall Glacier. And while there are roads within the borough, you can't drive to the capital. Access is strictly by air or sea. Juneau enjoys relatively mild weather. The Mount Juneau and Mount Roberts peaks give the town natural protection against the cold winds and permafrost, which is so much a part of Alaskan life. Glaciers like Mendenhall, Taku and Herbert also contribute to the milder climate in Juneau. On October 4th, 1880, Dick Harris and Joe Juneau staked their claim for gold at Gold Creek in the Gastineau Channel, an area previously inhabited by the Auk Indians. In 1913, Juneau became the capital of Alaska. Although the federal buildings dot the horizon, Juneau has maintained most of its original Gold Rush architectural heritage. Sitka is known as Alaska's Little Russia and reveals its Slavic heritage with St. Michael's Cathedral and brightly costumed Russian performers who greet arriving visitors at the pier. Russian Territorial Governor Alexander Baranov came to love Sitka for its beauty, mild climate and economic potential. The surrounding timber forest would provide raw materials for shipbuilding, and its location offered trading routes as far west as Hawaii and the Orient and as far south as California. However, the Tlingits soon took exception to the plans of their new neighbours, as for centuries before the Russians came, Sitka was the ancestral home of the Tlingit Indian nation. Russia sold Alaska to the USA for $7,200,000 in gold, and the transfer was formalised here on October 18, 1867. From 1867 until 1912, Sitka acted as the capital of Alaska. However Russian-sounding it may be, the name Sitka is not Russian. It's just a poor translation of the Tlingit name Shiatika, which means place on the island shore. Beauty is defined in Sitka's sounds, countless islands, and looming Mount Ketchikan volcano in the west. The islands are draped in stately spruce forests that reach the water's edge. The Alaska Raptor Center is a unique preserve where rescued bald eagles, hawks and owls are nursed back to health. Presided over by 3,000-foot Deer Mountain, Ketchikan had little room to expand, so much of the town is built on trestles, docks and pilings at the water's edge. Home to three cultures, Tlingit, Haida and Shimshan, the community features the Totem Heritage Cultural Centre, Totem Bight State Park and Saxman Native Village. In 1890, with a population of 800, the town was officially incorporated. Creek Street, a popular tourist spot, is a historic district that was once Alaska's most notorious red light area. Reportedly, 2/3 of miners' wages went to its bars and bordellos. The so-called first city of Ketchikan is usually the first Alaskan port for northbound ships and was established in 1887 when a salmon cannery was built at the mouth of Ketchikan Creek. Today, fishermen and loggers still contribute to a colourful atmosphere around the waterfront. To realise Victoria, wrote Rudyard Kipling, you must take all that the eye admires in Bournemouth, Torquay, the Isle of Wight, the Happy Valley in Hong Kong, Sorrento and the Thousand Islands, and arrange the whole around the Bay of Naples with some Himalayas for the background. The Bouchard Gardens is a 50-acre complex created in 1900 by Robert Pym Bouchard, who was wondering what to do with a huge hole created by his mining operation. His wife Jenny soon solved the problem. British Columbia's capital has remained essentially British, but amid its tea rooms, double-decker buses and horse-drawn carriages, Victoria also claims a much older legacy. Because of its geographical position in the Olympic Peninsula's rain shadow, Victoria enjoys the warmest and sunniest climate in Canada. The shadow falls across the Strait of Juan de Fuca, mountains deflect incoming Pacific storms northeast towards Vancouver or southeast towards Seattle, sparing the city from too much wet weather. Founded as Fort Victoria, it first grew as the centre of Hudson's Bay Company and has the dual distinction of being the first European settlement on Vancouver Island and the oldest city on Canada's west coast.